So let's move into our module of the week. And Stephen, you're going to tell us about this module.
Yeah, so the module of the week is LinkIt. That's LinkIt. The LinkIt description on their module page describes it as this. LinkIt provides an easy interface for internal and external linking within a wysiwyg editor by using autocomplete field. LinkIt has default support for nodes, users, taxonomies, files, comments, and basic support for all entities. What I do like about what the description is for this page, and I love it when modules do this, is this page describes what are the key advantages of this module. Like sometimes you see a description, but you don't quite get it. And they summarize it as the user does not have to copy or remember URLs. Number two, it's a sustainable solution for internal linking, and it has a friendly UI. So those are it's the mission of the module. So basically it takes the default linking capability in CK editor and supercharges it. So basically, once you configure it, you can, when you go to add a link to a piece of text, you can start to type in this autocomplete, like the name of a article title or user's name, or the beginning of a comment or a taxonomy, and it will pop you up with a list of possible pieces of content that you want to link to, and then you select one, and then it puts the link into the wysiwyg editor. So it's super handy like that.
And it's only used with CK editor wysiwyg.
Well, it's interesting because the feature list, and they also have an extensive feature list on the module page. It does list that it works with, what's the other one? IMC?
IMCE.
IMCE. I think it says that on the page. I should have had the page.
Are people still, not to go down, are people still using IMC?
I don't know.
Of course. Not many, but as far as I know, but okay. Of course.
Just look here. Let me pull the page up. I should have had it.
Does it, sorry, you may have said this and I missed it. Does it work with like a regular link field? Like if you were to put a link field on a content type, or is it simply like in the CK editor interface?
It's for the wysiwyg. Yeah, it's for the wysiwyg
specific. Got it. Okay.
So currently, LinkIt's been around for a while. So it has versions going back to version 6 and 7. I think it was first put out in 2011. So it's been around for quite a while. There's currently 2 versions that work with Drupal 8 and 9. They've got this thing going on right now where they have a 8X version 5, that's in beta. And then they have a version 6. That's not, the version number is not tied to Drupal 8. And those 2 versions are exactly the same code. So it's like they're in a transition period to get rid of the 8X at the beginning of the version number. There's also a 8X4, which is the current release. It's not beta, but it's only in maintenance mode only. So that will be going away soon. So if you're going to install this, I would suggest going for the 6 version. I think would be the version marked as 6 would be the smart thing to do at this point. There's also a Drupal 7 version that's still maintained. And it's actually used quite a bit. There's like 11,000 installs on the Drupal 7. And then all of the Drupal 8 versions, if you add the usage up for those, so the 8.4, the 8.5, and the 6, those are like 47,000 installs. So this is a pretty heavily used module.
Yep. I just want to mention, the 8.4 is no longer available because they deprecated Drupal 8 module, Drupal 8 only module. So if you go to the project page now, there's no 8.4. And I think they just ran that process yesterday. So
okay. Interesting.
I didn't see that. I saw something in the infrastructure channel talking about running that process, but yeah, they it must have been Drupal 8 only version because it's no longer on the page.
So the module's super easy to use. It's kind of like a install it and enable it thing. It doesn't require any any other modules. And basically the way this works is you define a profile for a LinkIt. You can have multiple profiles. And when you define a LinkIt profile, you can add what they call matchers to it. It's basically the functionality that you want to add to that profile. So you can say, for this profile, I'm interested in the user being able to link to content and files. And then you might create another profile that you want someone to have access to users and taxonomy. So you define these inside these matchers. What's really handy about this module is the presentation to the end user, because you can define, when you define one of these matchers or the functionality you want, like when you say, I want people to access content, you can pick what bundle types you want, and then you can define how it's displayed to them. So like if you want to display articles to someone, you could say when they search it and they see it come up in a pop-up list in the autocomplete, you would like them to see the title, then see the author, and then see the create date. So you can give them the information that they need to make the selection to choose the right content to link to. And it's using like tokens. So I don't know why the token module isn't required, as now that I'm thinking about this, because it doesn't say the token module is required, and I don't think I installed it either. But it's like using the Drupal tokens. So it's a great presentation. It's really easy to configure. And they structure it in a way in Drupal 9 that you can build your own plugins to extend the matchers for your own type of matchers if you want to have them. I actually haven't used the module yet. So what made me think of this module is I've been researching ways to link in wysiwyg editors for Drupal 9 project. And I've been evaluating this, haven't actually stuck it on a production site yet, but did spend some time looking at it. So I'm curious if you guys have any experience with this module or have any thoughts about it.
So I've maybe used it once a while back, not like it was installed on a site that I was either auditing or using. So I came in contact with it and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I have not installed it a lot on projects. And from what I hear, it's kind of like some people love it and other people just absolutely despise it and will never install it.
I wonder why that is. Yeah. Do you have any sense of why someone would hate it or despise it?
No, I don't. Okay. I mean, based on what you said, it sounds like it's pretty useful. It sounds like it's a helpful, UI improvement for admins who might be trying to find things. So I don't really know, but I've had conversations with people where you're like, oh, well, there's LinkIt, and they're like, oh no, don't use that.
Yeah, it's fairly polarizing. I think one of the things is it kind of, this isn't a great analogy, but it's kind of like media for links, where it's like an extra library on top. It's a fair amount and I think that causes some problems for some people.
Not a great analogy, because I would never build a Drupal site without media.
I just meant in that it's like a wrapper around something that can be built in another way. So some people prefer just the simplicity of like the built-in, but I only had extensive experience with it once, and it did introduce some significant hurdles. And that was a Drupal 6 site that was migrating to Drupal 7 and migrating the LinkIt output tokens was extraordinarily painful. One of the more painful Drupal experiences I had. Now, it's been 6 or 7 years, so I don't remember all the details. I think that it was because they were also using LinkIt to handle legacy URLs. So I think it was one of those sites. It was a site that had been around forever, and they had like the old version of the site. You know how some sites will sometimes like have a link to like a completely different domain that doesn't even exist anymore. And LinkIt was hard coding those and then just using some random, some weird plugin to like know what to do with it when it saw it. So I don't even think that the migration issues were directly related to LinkIt, but they were all LinkIt assets. I don't know if you call them assets, but they're all LinkIt artifacts that we were trying to migrate.
Well, I think the same. I think it works the same way now, because when you install this, you go into, after you define the profile for LinkIt, the profiles you want, you then go into text formatting, and you enable for like basic HTML. You go in and turn LinkIt on, and then you also turn on the formatter for it. So it's doing the similar thing where it's dropping some sort of token in the actual data, and then when you display the content, it's parsing it. So so it brings up to me, I wonder, like, how does like translation handle? Is it like LinkIt friendly? I wonder how that works too.
Yeah, I think after that project, I went to install on another project maybe a year or two after, and evaluated it and decided against it again. And it's been long enough that I don't remember the exact whys. It was just, I think it behaved, and there was like a behavior that it just didn't quite work. And rather than trying to figure it out, I just decided to go with kind of the core default linking process in CK editor.
Stephen, are you building a POC for this, or you said you're evaluating it? How deep is that evaluation going?
What's a POC?
Proof of concept.
Oh, I thought it was point of contact.
It could be that too.
Yeah, we're not doing an extensive evaluation on it, but I'm evaluating it, like, to see. There's not a lot of choices out there for things like this,
right?
So some of the check marks for us are translation. That's one. It's post migration, so this is on a new site and a new way to link after we've migrated from Drupal 7 to Drupal 9. So that's a consideration too, is what happens when I turn this on after I've embedded links already. So don't know what that looks like. So those are the kinds of things we're looking at right now. But, at this point, I was just kind of getting a feel for what it does. And it looks like something that's valuable for our content administrators.
Yeah, I guess my two thoughts on that one is like testing the translation aspect of it too, to see how that is handled. And then the other is finding out if there is a way to add it to the link field, because I feel like if you had a piece of content with a link field on it, right, it may be annoying to admins to say like, hey, I have this really cool functionality within a wysiwyg, but now a general link field doesn't have that functionality, and it's like annoying,
If it does that, if there's maybe another module that adds this for you, I'm not aware of it. There is one module that I found related to this, is LinkIt Media Library. So they did note on the module that it does the current version of it, the 8.5 and 6.0 version, does not support media entity anymore, that you have to use core media in the module moving forward, which conceptually makes sense to me. And then so there's this additional library called LinkIt Media Library that when you pull up the link, when you pull up a link, it adds a button to pick from your media library. I haven't played with that yet, but it's something that I'll take a look at as well.
Interesting.
Cool. Well, that was sounds like a great module. I'm looking forward to hearing more as you do more research on it.